Ready.
All right, we are live.
We just started and we already have 3 thumbs up.
That's awesome. Thank you. So we're gonna find a new location soon. This was a nice, This was a nice ambiance when it was winter and we had the fire going. But now it's so light behind us, the shots aren't gonna be good much longer.
You might. This is just a little off. I guess I'll leave it. Does it feel a little crooked?
Yeah, it feels a little crooked.
It looks a little crooked. I don't think I can straighten this leg up without it.
It's okay. We don't want to. Okay.
Maybe that'll work. Now it's a little crooked there.
All right. Welcome. We are excited to have you join us. And busy day today. Yeah.
Well, I did school all day, so did a microbiology lab, and then I did some pathophysiology, and also studied some statistics. So
You did a lot today, and I drove everybody
you did. You
everywhere
were
today. It was very busy.
all over the place.
Hello, Pam. Hello, Blessed Mama and Lady in the Mountains. Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking about...
My old man eyes.
The old man eyes.
I need that close.
Tonight we're going to be talking about kind of lessons that we've learned from just reading books and stuff about the Great Depression and how people made it through that we've been able to kind of implement in our house for a more frugal lifestyle, living on a lower income sort of things, less waste, all those good things.
Hello, did you say hi to Melissa?
So Melissa and
Mary from Alabama.
Diana at Justice Acres, and Grammy is here. So, look, I got new glasses today, and Annie has told me all day how much she hates them. So,
I think it's just because it makes mommy look different.
It does. So,
I think that's why.
So, and Melissa's watching from Virginia. Well, hello from Virginia. So
it's been a little cold. We're in Missouri. It's been a little colder here the last few
been.
days.
It has been.
I mean, it's still like seasonal, but it's not that extraordinary.
Okay. So first off, I just wanted to say, so we're talking about the Great Depression. I have a feeling, or I think sometimes when we talk about these things, we tend to like oversimplify or like be really nostalgic about it. I definitely don't want to undermine how hard life was for people, and there are definitely aspects that people did to get by that I don't think we would want to replicate today, like child labor and things like that, you know, dropping out of school in the 7th grade because your parents needed the money. So definitely some negative things, but I think there's also some positive lessons to learn and skills to kind of glean. So.
Hello, Aunt Holly, Lady in the Mountains, Melissa. Oh, Melissa, yeah. Sarah and Phyllis.
So,
try to catch
Kansas?
everybody. Sorry if we miss anybody on the hellos. Sometimes we just get so focused.
Laser focused.
Yeah, we miss our some of our chat.
All right, you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Well, it's kind of funny because you started the list, but
Pete
I've got.
Says it's 11 degrees in Vermont, and Pete,
Well,
I believe that because I grew out that way.
Well, I won't complain about
It's not
snowing here, and it is definitely not 11 degrees.
Oh, hey, Tara, thanks for joining us. So, this Tara from church.
Yeah. Hello,
okay.
Tara.
I guess I'll show you this. So I'll link this below when this is over if you're interested. This is a book I got last year for Christmas. She also has
hold it up closer if you want.
She also has a YouTube channel. She has now passed away. Her name is Clara Cucinara, I think is how you say it. Canusiaria, not Italian. But they have a channel called Clara's Kitchen where her family is still uploading videos. But this book is both a cookbook and just like her life story growing up as a young adult during the Great Depression and everything that they did to get by, and it's hilarious. And it also has some really great things. And her channel is really fun to watch. She basically just cooks recipes she remembers cooking during the Great Depression and just shares stories. I'll link all that below. But some of the things we're going to talk about come from this book because it really inspired me. So yeah, Blessed Mama, she watched her all the time. Yeah, just a great channel, and they're still like they recorded so much stuff of her before she passed away, and that they're still editing videos and uploading new content like 5 or 6 years since she's passed. So it's really neat.
Hi, Charlie and Judy.
So hey, welcome.
Hey, Kate. Well, the thing when you talk about homesteading, like old school homesteading, or the things like some of these tips and things that we're going to talk about in the Great Depression, what gets me is that nowadays we can kind of pick and choose the things that we enjoy doing, or maybe the things that are kind of convenient for us that we feel like we can apply to our lives. But a lot of these things back then, these folks had to do to survive. You know, we talk about the last few live streams. We talk about living off grid. A lot of people just pick and choose parts of that. But you know, you think about it back in the day when people were truly homesteading and putting everything in a wagon and heading out west or wherever. They had to live that way. They had no choice. And when you start digging into the Great Depression and all the things people did to live, it's really, really impressive.
I'm posting the link right now here to this book. Her YouTube channel, I think, is called Clara's Kitchen, and I know if you search Clara's Kitchen, it'll pop up. That might not be the name of the YouTube channel, but that link there, that's to this book that I showed you if you're interested. I don't think it's that expensive, and it was really, like, I was chuckling my way through it. She's pretty funny, and you could definitely tell she was kind of an out-of-the-box person growing up. And
honestly, too, a lot of those recipes, you look at them and you're like, there is no way because of what it substitutes or what it leaves out. But a lot of them are pretty good still. They're not too bad.
Yeah, a lot of the recipes only have, like, 5 ingredients, and you're like, how is that gonna even taste good?
There's no way.
They're really good. So we tried several of them. So welcome Joyce and Lois, and Lucille is here. Hello, Homestead Nana, and we got your box today. Thank you very much. We got lost at the post office, and then it finally arrived.
to snag it, but thank you so much.
So, okay, so I'll start, or I guess you sort of started, but there's so much on our list. I guess we can start with something we just did recently, and that is reusing your glass jars. So this is a Classico pasta sauce jar that I reused to make homemade tomato juice, and it saved us from having to buy canning jars, which are getting harder to find and more expensive. Now, I bought a new lid. It fits a traditional ball canning lid, but I did see a lot of people commented, especially some of our European viewers, that said that they just reuse the metal lids again too that came with the jar. So I do know that during World War II, I was reading several things about it the other day, that the government really pushed people to save and reuse their jars for canning things from their victory gardens, because as glass was needed for the war effort, they didn't want people buying more glass at the store for home canning. So that was really interesting. So, and I mean, it's got a good, nice, tight seal and worked out really well. So that's something you don't think about it, but if you're canning, you want to can 12 pints of tomato juice, and it's almost $1 a jar right now, you just saved yourself $12. Basically, the pasta sauce paid for itself the first time you reused the jar.
When we talked about doing a live stream on Great Depression, though, and then you think about, like, you start doing a little bit of research and looking at it, it's funny how a lot of it really overlaps, and it's almost like they encouraged everyone to be kind of like mini homesteaders in like even in their apartments and stuff, growing their own food or keeping a couple of chickens in their backyard. I mean, the government really pushed that during the Great Depression and during the wars too.
And somebody who was watching us last week, it may have been Pete here, said that his parents or his grandparents during the Great Depression kept rabbits in their basement. That was their meat source, because rabbits are quiet, so you could live in a city and raise rabbits and nobody would know.
Yeah,
and
they don't really smell either.
That was their meat
source. They're pretty quiet and easy to. Oh, he's got another one. He says.
Oh,
we had
good
everything
one.
but money.
Well, thank you.
Moldy. We're gonna have to look that one up. That sounds interesting.
Okay, your turn.
Well, this isn't on the sheet, and my Aunt Holly's in the chat. She might correct me here, but I've talked to my dad a little bit about my grandpa, and he was born a little bit after the Great Depression, like he was a little kid during it, but they lived, I guess this is more of a story than a tip, but they lived in the country, way far away from anyone, and they had a farm. And basically, the way he tells it, they didn't really know that there was a Great Depression going on because they didn't have much money anyway. So the fact that all of a sudden people were having money problems, they were like, okay.
I've had money problems my whole life.
Yeah, they lived on a farm. That I think the one way that they, like, their kind of influx of cash was to sell maybe a couple dozen hogs a year, and that was about it. Other than that, they just kind of farmed for themselves. He may have sold some other livestock too, but they pretty much just, kind of homesteaded out in the country, and so there wasn't much cash flow. Every once in a while, they'd go to town. They didn't do that very often either.
I remember your dad showed us that he had found like a receipt. They had bought a milk cow. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
The cow was like $20, but he didn't have $20, and so he had made like installment payments on this milk cow over 6 months or something like that to pay for the milk cow. That was kind of cool.
It is cool.
So hey, Dean family, thanks for joining us.
Anyway, that's just a story from my family. I think a lot of people were kind of that way, though.
So another one that we really implement, and it took a little bit of learning, is learning how to use the whole animal or as much of the animal as possible, including the cuts that nobody else wants. A way that I think we throw a lot of money away at the grocery store is buying the specialty cuts. Like, we like the white meat chicken breasts,
right,
or we like, the certain beef cuts and things like that. And there's so much more to an animal than just those pieces. So if you learn how to cook a whole chicken, or buy a whole chicken and cut it up so that you have the pieces to cook how you want to, the food goes a lot farther and it's a lot less expensive per ounce. And also, like, if we buy beef and pork from the butcher that's raised locally, and then we buy it from the butcher, like, I get everything. If they're like, hey, do you want the blankety blank blank, like, the pork hocks, do you want the lard, do you want the livers and the
I'm gonna tell a story on you, though.
Okay. Oh, you can. And yes, and I will learn how to cook it, because I'm paying for it even if I don't take it home, because you pay the butchering fee. So.
The only thing we haven't done is cow tongue. Laura actually set it out one day, because people say you use it a lot like ground beef, I suppose.
They told me to cook it like ground beef and then make tacos out of it.
And she had it like sitting on the counter thawing, and when it came time to cook it and get going on it, she's like, I just can't. So that's one area where we haven't done it all. But I would say too, I don't know if this is more of just a frugal tip, but a lot of times, you can buy some of those, I wouldn't call them weird cuts of meat, like all legs or all wings. You can get them really, really cheap, because people don't want those. They want the skinless, boneless chicken breast. But anyway. And
then also, when you cook your meat, save all of your grease. Save your beef fat that you drain off. Save your bacon grease. I keep them in mason jars in the fridge, and I have them labeled what kind of grease it is, and then I use it to grease my pans. I use it for cooking. I can't tell you the last time I bought an aerosol spray can of, non-stick stuff. Like, you don't need it, and it's just kind of a waste of money.
Oh man, we get the lard, like whenever we buy a pig, and things are so much better with like real lard. Now I'm sure
biscuits.
I'm sure they're not better for your arteries, but there's better things to cook in. But as far as taste goes, it's so delicious.
Let's see.
We'd say hi to Karen. Pete says his grandparents credit their ability to ride out the Depression for being in the country and being able to feed themselves. And people in the city didn't fare so well. Yeah. I've heard the same thing, too.
There's two older gentlemen at our church that have both since passed away that used to talk about the Great Depression, and they were like older teenagers at the time, and they said they would hear about it on the radio, but life was no different for them. Like, they lived on farms, and they never really had money, but they always had plenty of food. I bet if you asked their parents would be like, oh, we felt it. But from their perspective, like, it didn't make a difference.
If you have your garden and you've got your animals, for the most part, as far as food goes, you're kind of good to go. You can make it for a while that way. But
Barbara says, as a young child, I still remember my mom cooked cow's tongue like a roast. Awful. It looked like tongue. It went from the freezer to the oven to the trash. my mom tells a story of so my grandparents, both sets of my grandparents were older when they had my parents, and so they were both young adults during the Great Depression. And so my grandma learned how to cook during the Great Depression, and she would cook liver and onions. And my mom said it was like trying to eat a rubber tire. It was so bad. It was the only meal that her mom would make that my grandpa would be like, you don't really have to eat that, and would let him like skip ahead to dessert. But it was just, you don't waste it. You use everything.
Joanne says, thank you for sharing your experiences and recommendations.
Well, thanks for joining us today.
And what Anne says, oh, cow tongue is great. She boils it and peels it, shreds the meat, and seasons it. I've heard a lot of people use it for tacos and
barbecue.
When Laura was trying to get recommendations for it, that's what a lot of people said.
Now, I will say, in my defense, when we were trying to do it last, I was pregnant. I just couldn't. I couldn't even look at it. That was a tough one, but I probably would try it now. Fair. Charlie and Judy, somewhere listening here, I think she slices it real thin and then like fries it. I think is how he likes it.
Oh.
So, but from what I understand, you do have to like peel the taste buds off, no matter how you eat it, right? Like that would be weird. Eating something's taste buds, just like sandpaper. So.
That would be weird. What else do we have? I think something that they had to do during the Great Depression too was to develop new skills. That's something that we've really had to do on the homestead too. You've got a couple other tips that are kind of similar along that line, but when money gets really tight, you can't just send it off to whoever to fix it or take care of it, or you can't just go out necessarily and buy a new one. So you have to turn carpenter or mechanic or whatever to try and piece things together. And you might not be very good at it at first.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You'll struggle at first.
We have some projects.
But the more you do it, the more you might not end up being a professional, grade at the end of it, but you can make do and get things in shape to where they're usable again, or I don't know.
That's true. And as far as new skills go, I think one of the most useful skills that we've lost and was very important during the Depression is just knowing basic sewing skills.
Yeah.
And even Micah and Ivy, I've already started teaching them. Micah knows how to sew buttons back on things, and how to sew straight lines on the sewing machine and things like that. But just being able to repair simple clothing items, or like make curtains out of old fabric. These curtains up there, those aren't pretty, but I made those out of some fabric that was like gonna get thrown away. So better keeps the sun out of the kitchen when it's coming up over the horizon or whatever. So it's just sewing it'll save you from throwing things away because you can fix most things. And I'm not gonna say I sit there and darn socks. If we get holes in the socks, bye. But you could.
You like patch jeans or sew buttons back on pants or shirts and things like that. Simple things. You might not go out and make a whole wedding dress, but simple repairs and things to help your clothes last longer. That's key. Pete says another depression-proof item: the outhouse. I know it will never go out of style. You've got it right there.
It doesn't cost anything to use. Yeah, no water, no electricity. So, during the Depression, my great-grandma worked in Washington, D.C. as a secretary for a representative. A lot of people, I think, you moved where the jobs were. Your grandma tells a story about her grandpa rode the trains from coast to coast for like 2 years, or her father for 2 years, just getting off wherever to find a job.
Let's see. Charlie says, peel the outer skin that has the taste buds off and cook it like a roast, and there's very little difference than a roast.
You know what? We might just have to go for it, and then I'll let you all know. So.
Most of the other family branches were farmers, and life wasn't much different. Yeah. Sometimes living in the country has some downsides, but when money gets tight and the world sometimes feels like it's a little upside down, there is a lot of security in being in the country and being somewhat prepared.
Well, and I think not just being in the country, but using a more homestead simplified lifestyle. Like we had a lot of big equipment that our farm depended on. Like right now, like inflation prices would really affect us because you have to care for that equipment. You have to put gas in that equipment, things. But when you kind of live simply, it's just kind of, it's always the same. I'm not going to say it's always like awesome. Like there are definitely times when the economy is really good where you're like, gosh, I wish we could have some nice things. You know what I mean? And it's just, but your income's kind of always the same. But it's nice when things are getting rough. Your life's like what you're used to doesn't necessarily get worse because you're not as affected by it.
Hello, prepped for eternity. The lady in the mountains.
I built sewing kits for my granddaughters and gave them sewing lessons for their
birthdays.
That's a
cool.
Great idea.
That is a good idea.
And our girls, sewing is so neat. It seems like an old skill, but I think it teaches a lot of really important skills. Like Micah, who's almost 9, she's not the best at sitting still for a long time, and sewing really commands you to be still and focused. Yeah. And so it's really good practice on attention and detail for her.
But you're not just twiddling your thumbs; like you're accomplishing something.
Yeah, so
you can see it happening.
Pete's got another book. Yeah, so get some reading. We got some reading.
Beyond the Rat Race by Art. Yes. Okay.
Charlie. What's Texas toilet paper?
I don't want to ask.
I don't know. Okay, so what else you got?
Well, I think a really, really obvious one is just growing food wherever you are. And we've talked about that just about every live stream that we've done, but they definitely did that in the Great Depression because with food and such being scarce, a lot of people turned to growing things. You know, they turned their lawns into gardens, especially if you were in the city for sure. And even people that were in apartments, and people do this now too, just growing some tomatoes or whatever it is you can fit in a pot and doing your best. But, you know, I think that's very important. Mm-hmm. And we talk about food security all the time. That kind of goes hand in hand with canning.
It does. And I think anytime you talk about growing food, do make sure that you know what zone you are in so that you can have appropriate expectations for your garden. Like a lot of people, they look at the past and how people did things. They get really excited about like the victory gardens and things like that. And those are really neat, but you have to have a long enough season to be able to do that sort of succession planting. And here in zone 5, if you get really lucky, if you can like start a week early and get frost to hold off to the frost date, you might be able to do it. But really the season is kind of too short. But if you live farther south and the season's a little bit longer, then that's a great option. So just make sure you know what season you are, and that will help your garden be as successful as possible so that you'll have lots of things to feed your family. You know, and even if only 20% of your summer food, you never put anything up, and 20% of your summer food comes from your garden, and it's only for those like 3 or 4 months. That's still 20% of your food that you are not buying, and it's saving you money. So don't be discouraged.
You're doing something.
Yeah, don't be discouraged if you can't grow 50 pounds of tomatoes on your property, you know, if you have a small garden. If you're impacting what's on your family plate, like you're making a difference both in the healthy food that you're providing your family and the amount of money you're saving. So don't be discouraged if you don't have 3 acres to plow tomorrow. You know, you're successful even if it's just a small bit.
It's so rewarding to feel too. I mean, I know with a lot of planting, it's weeks and weeks and weeks of labor, but to be able to reap that reward, it just feels so rewarding. That's one reason why I like the animals. With you get to collect eggs every day, or you get to milk a goat every day. You get that reward like every day. It's just the kids love that, to be able to do that every single day. I don't know, it's kind of cool. Anne says, basic sewing clothes are essential, I think. I had 4 active brothers, and the pants all got patched. Well-used jeans make great denim blankets, too. I like that idea.
That's actually one thing we're going to try this summer. Micah wants to learn how to make a rag rug, which you would use. Traditionally, they would use old, worn-out shirts and pants and things. I think we might go buy some fabric. But just taking, you know, like Ann says, taking things that are just worn past wearable stage and repurposing them so that you don't have to go buy, you know, a rug
or
a blanket.
What's that saying we have?
Use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. I think that's an Amish saying.
We have that painted somewhere.
We used to, yeah, it
did
broke.
break? Okay.
Yeah.
We had a sign that had that.
It used to be right there, but it broke. So, yeah, especially if they're giant tomatoes. I have never been successful in growing a giant tomato. We will try again this year, though.
Another thing that we've done in the past, and I think they did a lot of in the Great Depression, was bartering. So if it's something that you have a lot of excess of, or you have a friend or a neighbor, they need something, and you can trade that. We've traded, what else have we traded before? I know we've traded eggs for things before. We bartered, Laura bartered, she taught piano lessons for a long time. We've bartered piano lessons for things before.
Yeah, I used to teach piano lessons in exchange for 3 gallons of fresh milk.
Yeah, before we had our goats, we got fresh milk from a friend, and we swapped piano lessons. But I think that's a great way, especially if there's not a lot of cash flow. And they did that in the Great Depression. If you had an abundance of something, to trade it out with a neighbor or a friend.
Well, and even sometimes, like, we had a field we weren't using, and our neighbor asked if he could knock it down and keep the hay. And I don't, we weren't mowing it down, so we don't have a big enough tractor, and we didn't need the hay. So yeah, I mean, he helped us, and it helped him. So
that's true.
Can you grab that planter over there behind the basket?
Yeah.
So Tara says that she's going to try tomatoes, green beans, peppers, and herbs. I think that's a great start. And I will tell you, Tara, those herbs, you can't kill them. Some of those, you cannot kill them if you try. I have been trying to kill my mint for 3 years, and it comes back every year. So herbs is a great one to get started with. And, fresh herbs at the store are expensive. So if you like to, especially if you like to cook with fresh herbs, like, that can be a great way to save some money and just produce it in your garden. So Joanne asked if we have a regular daily and weekly schedule of chores to stay organized, and I do. I have learned to keep a home planner. I'll show you the one that I use. I can get it close so you can see the cover. There we go. So I use this. This is by the Passionate Penny Pincher, and this is my brain. But I really like it because it has daily chores on top. So these are my morning and my evening chores around the house. And then on the side, they have special chores each day. It keeps you up to date on, like, what things you should be doing every month. Like, whoever thinks about cleaning their baseboards, not me. Things like that. When you should wash your windows. And if I can stay on track here, it helps me keep my house more organized. Even reminds me about, like, when to do pantry inventories and things like that. So this keeps me really up to date. I don't know about you, how you feel like you keep track of. The farm chores are kind of the same every day.
Yeah, I put some things in my phone, but Laura really does kind of live and die by this planner and calendar. She literally uses it every single day, constantly. Keeps us all on task and organized.
Otherwise, it just gets overwhelming.
Pete has a Chinese saying, 3 years new, 3 years old, patch and wear for 3 years more.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. I like that.
Hello from, is that Osage? I never say it right.
Yeah, Osage Beach. Hello, Autumn. Thanks for joining
away.
us. I've expanded my garden and got 3 additional hens to add to my small flock. My co-workers make fun of me and pick at me about it. Yes, I'm an adult, so it rolls off my back. But I've decided to stop sharing my info and advice.
Hey, you love your chickens.
Yeah, you do you. Sometimes you're just wasting it on the wrong people. Some people just don't appreciate helpful advice, and so you'll find somebody that does, though.
It's like when COVID started. Before there was the panic at the beginning, everyone thought we were absolutely crazy to ever think about using, like, family cloth instead of toilet paper. And then all of a sudden you couldn't find toilet paper at the store, and didn't seem so crazy.
Yeah, we posted a video of it, and we have friends that we haven't talked to in a long time. And they're like, thanks for that video, guys. Like, I think most of them were okay as far as toilet paper goes, but to have some of that knowledge in your back pockets, not too bad.
Terry says you can reap a good return on investment sewing everyday linens and cloth replacements for disposables. Yep, all the more with repurposed and upcycled items for fabrics. So, one other thing, just in general, in the Great Depression, not even just because it was the Great Depression, just historically, like, there wasn't a lot of disposable items, and people just used reusable items for everything. And I think today we feel like we don't know how to do something without our paper products or our throwaway products. And it's kind of it's ridiculous, but I understand the feeling, because when we started on this journey, I was like, what am I going to do without paper towels? Or how do you cloth diaper like all day? Like, how do people do that? You know, and
well, then the hard part about some of that stuff, like cloth diapering, that can be a real learning curve sometimes about what, and you can get frustrated. You know, if your baby's having a blowout every single time they poo or pee, you're just like, okay, I quit. Like, we can't figure this out, and I'm done with it. And sometimes that stuff,
but it's
it can
like
really be frustrating.
The knowledge has been lost, and then you have to kind of like rediscover it. Like Micah, when she was a baby, she leaked through like every diaper, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. Now, 6 babies later, you know, I know a lot more about cloth diapers, and I know that honestly, the best cloth diaper you can buy is the oldest fashioned one, which is just the big piece of fabric, the flat diaper that you fold around the baby. It's pretty much leak-proof, foolproof, super absorbent, super easy to wash. Like, but I had to go on a journey to figure that out. Where generations past, that just would have been like those skills would have been passed down. Let's see. So reusable products. What do we use?
We use rags. Like
rags
all of our rags are ripped up old towels and things like that we reuse all the time. A lot of our cleaning products, I guess that's not reusing, but we mix or make our own cleaning products.
That's something too. There's a lot of there are aisles and aisles of cleaners at the store, and you really don't need them. We make our own laundry soap, which, as long as you don't have an HE machine, is good. It'll get your clothes good and washed, and that costs us about $20 a year for a whole year's worth of laundry soap. Vinegar and water makes a great disinfecting cleaner. I also use Castile soap in water. I make my own cleaner with that. I don't buy. The only thing I buy is if somebody has got like the tummy bug sick, I will go buy Lysol wipes and in an effort to make sure it doesn't pass
every
around,
once in a while too, we might have some like Mr. Clean or something that just smells really fresh and clean. Let's see. Dean Family says thrifting and hand-me-downs are how all of our kids have grown up. Terry says we grew up on square diapers.
Yep.
And Lady in the Mountains says if you have a bidet attachment for your toilet, you hardly ever use TP. TP is for guests only in my house. Let's see. What other tips from the Great Depression? We've gone through most of our lists.
Well, I think one that's fun that Clara talks about is how they never ever wasted bread. So her mom would make loaves of bread. It was like Saturday night they would make all their bread for the next week. But about Thursday, because those of you who make homemade bread will also know, homemade bread does not last like store-bought bread. It gets hard as a rock.
That's
and
true.
After a few days, it's not yummy and soft anymore. And so she talks about how they would turn the leftover bread, they would butter it and like fry it. That was like Wednesday or Thursday's meal. They would have fried bread as the side, and then it would become breadcrumbs on Friday, and then Saturday they would make new bread. But bread is one of those things you should never have to throw away. If it gets stale, it can be breadcrumbs. It can be made into like a French toast casserole. There's just lots of options. So bread should never hit the trash can, I guess, unless you let it get moldy. But it usually
we go through bread so fast
in
our house.
They full loaf of bread now to
they
feed people.
suck it down. Let's see. Tara says, been trying to create less trash, but it's hard not to use paper towels, and everything comes in disposable containers and bags.
Yep.
We struggle with that too. We kind of go, like, we'll have really good seasons of doing well with that, and then other times it's...
The hardest one is the food containers. Like, I make bread, but I don't make every loaf of bread that we eat, because that's a lot of bread. And so, like, then you end up with bread bags or tortilla bags or cereal bags, or like everything comes in a plastic container or a plastic bag.
It does feel like that.
I do save the bags, like the bread bags and stuff, and then I use them to freeze things, and that works really well. But yeah, you're exactly right, Tara. Everything comes wrapped in plastic, which is a struggle.
Yeah. Lady in the Mountains says white vinegar is a great fabric softener because it takes all the soap out of the clothes in the rinse. Tessa says she's been wanting to try homemade laundry soap. Can you tell me if it's safe for septic systems if using long term?
That I don't know. I can tell you my homemade laundry soap is borax, Fells naphtha, and super washing soda. Those are the only 3 ingredients in it, and water. So if those 3 ingredients are safe for your septic system,
You could
then
do a
you'd be
little
good.
research and
Yeah.
see. There's all kinds of different homemade soap, laundry soap. I'm sure you could find one that would be safe for septic systems. How do you manage your trash where you live? We do burn paper and cardboard that we can,
Well,
but we do have
yeah.
a trash service.
So all food is composted
Yeah.
along with uncoated paper products. So like if we do have paper towels or something like
Yeah.
that, those will be composted. And then we burn cardboard and broken wood stuff. And then we have a regular trash can for plastics. We do have a trash pickup, like a
Once a
little
week, they take a
excavating company comes and picks it up. They'll pick up a can. But we've been working hard on reducing trash. But
We've had
the
seasons of
food,
doing
yeah,
really well.
the
Like
food containers are what kill us.
I
feel
think
like.
sometimes when we're home more, I mean this kind of leans more on Laura, but when like right now Annie, we're so busy with Annie and trying to take her to therapy every day. Life's a little hectic right now. So if you have more time to be at home and prepare, it's a little bit easier for some of that stuff.
Right. You don't need as much convenience, food pouch kind of things.
I can't wrap my mind around people buying detergent. Haven't bought detergent in years. Get the $1 Gain travel bottle. It makes my 5-gallon homemade detergent smell like Gain. So I guess I cheat a
A
little.
little bit. Hey, that's a good idea.
Like that smell?
He loves that smell.
I do like the Gain smell.
He likes to snuggle in his sheets at night and go. So I have Gain dryer sheets just for like the sheets to put them in the dryer so that they smell like Gain.
Yep. Terry says you have chickens and eggs. Bread pudding is a taste bud friendly
That's a great
use
idea.
of stale bread.
I-
And that's another thing. If you ever have anything that goes bad, or not bad, but
Goes a little stale.
just toss it to your chickens.
Yeah.
Like they're just like they're almost just like pigs. They will eat almost anything that you toss out.
And they'll turn it into an egg for you.
That's
So
right.
you can do it. We also, I remember our friend Luke in college, like his grandparents he said when they had cake, the first day you eat your cake, but then it sits on the counter, it gets a little stale. The next day they would like put the cake in a bowl and put the milk under the cake. Remember that? And it makes the cake moist again. So
Yeah,
that's kind of
if
a cool
he
thing.
ever ate cake, he always ate it in a bowl of milk. Like he never just ate cake by itself. He had to eat it in a bowl of milk, which I thought was interesting. Let's see, paper towels is our weakness for sure. That can be tough. Let's see. Yes, all the bags. Melissa says I'm saving food container for starting my seeds and also for my kids to use while painting or catching bugs.
Those are great ideas. I think some of the thing that gets overwhelming with the food containers, you could say there's so many things that we can save them for, but because of the number of kids that we have, like if everybody has a fruit cup or something, then you have 6 fruit cup containers. It just gets to
Too
be
much,
a lot really
yeah.
quickly. So when we're not in a season where I'm driving Annie to therapy every day, all week for 6 months, then we don't really buy a lot of the convenience snack food for the kids because I have time to like slice apples for snack and things. But right now it's not that time. We do a lot more food pouches and fruit cups and things.
Let's see. Fells naphtha has a lot of chemicals in it, Ruth
Yep.
says.
Well, there are a lot of, you could get online and there are like a million DIY home detergent recipes, so definitely find what you think works best for you. But buying detergent at the store, like unless you have an HE machine, because then you don't have a lot of water and it can have a hard time washing homemade stuff away, like you can save a whole lot of money by making your own detergent and your clothes will still be nice and clean. So
Pete says the burn barrel is a pretty useful item out in the country. Yes, it is. We're in a kind of a burn pit now, but
yeah.
there's a guy out in the country. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the remnants of a small, like grain bin silo kind of thing, but it looks like he uses it for a burn barrel. I'm like, I don't know about that, but it would hold a lot.
Yeah, you
so
could throw a
I'm
lot in
honestly a little bit jealous when we drive by to see it because you can just pitch whatever you want in
That's
there.
our kids. The kids love it when I burn trash because they're all like, "Oh, she's gonna make a fire," And then everybody wants a turn to try to light a match, which they're all like terrified of the match, which is probably a good thing. You don't play with matches. But they're all like, oh, I'm going to try. And then you're like, all right, this is how you do it. But nobody will
The problem is they go,
strike it.
and they just immediately throw it. You're like, oh, you got to hold it a little longer than that. Actually, sometimes burning the trash is a sad thing because usually if we ever get any kind of a decent amount of cardboard or whatever, the girls turn it into some kind of art and craft. And so sometimes after they've had that for a couple weeks, it ends up getting burned.
And then there's tears because you're burning my train. Or
that's my dollhouse. You're like, we'll get another box in a week or two. You'll be fine. Our girls love cardboard boxes. As soon as one or two hit the floor, it's game on as to who gets to control what it's going to be.
Yeah, but now I feel like if we order something from like Amazon, I got to order enough things that we get like 5 boxes.
Enough boxes for
because
everybody.
Somebody always gets left out.
Share.
And then there's tears.
No, they get them on the floor. They'll get out their markers and crayons and glue and scissors, and they just go to town on those, whatever it is. They like to use whatever we got over there for decorating.
Let's see. Making detergent is so much better. Septic and chemical concerns. Read the detergent bottle label. It's actually better to make your own. So, yeah. So, we don't have experience with the septic system, so I don't feel like we can give advice, but...
Let's see. Pete also says clean cardboard is also a good way to suppress weeds and build the soil. We've tried that a little bit.
I did. So I tried that last year in my container garden. I did a layer, maybe I have to do more than one layer, but I did a layer of cardboard and then straw on top and then the containers on top. And it was good for like 3 months. And then it looked like, suddenly it was like a jungle. Like the cardboard had broken down and like all the weeds came out and it looked terrible. So maybe it's a multi-layer cardboard and I didn't do it right, but... It didn't last the whole gardening season for me, and I had thought that, when you put it down, that's going to last the season, but I didn't have that experience.
Kids and cats love boxes, that's true. Yeah, if it's a big enough one, then it turns into a fort or a ship or something like that, but usually the small ones, it just turns into a dollhouse.
Joanne says, how are your greenhouses coming? Did you get them fixed? I did, and so we have 2 greenhouses this year. They look great. I tried a 4th attempt at a wrapping technique, and this one seems to be working very well.
Kind of double
wrapped them. But so one greenhouse is all salad items, so it's kind of like walk in and make a salad. It's got radishes and carrots and several different types of lettuce and spinach. So for dinner, you can go in, pick things, and then toss it together in a salad. And that one is great. Everything is sprouted and is growing, so that's good. Mm-hmm. And then the second one, we have a tower garden. It's called a grow stock garden, and there'll be a video out on Wednesday showing it, but it's a 5-tier garden and we planted strawberries in it, and I have tomatoes and cabbage and peppers started in pots in the other greenhouse because it keeps it nice and hot to encourage them to sprout, and so yeah, it's going great.
Ruth says she's about to start sweet potato slips in cardboard. There you go. You can show our
so we're talking about repurposing things. So this is
learning how to sew.
This is an old feed bag. What is this, chicken? No, this is a goat alfalfa pellets. And Ivy helped me make this. It's a shopping bag that we sewed out of an old feed bag.
Really proud of it.
It was not very hard to do. You can get 2 out of 1 feed bag. Even the handles are the feed bag. But it's pretty durable, and I just use this just for toting things around, like if we're going somewhere and I need a bag in the van with stuff, like just throw it in there, and it was free. I was like, I need a bag about this size, and I could go to the store and buy a $20 bag, or I could make one out of an alfalfa pellets bag.
Honestly, that's a great project for a kid too, because if you mess up on a feed bag, you're not ruining fabric, and you're always gonna get more feed bags.
You can see that she's the one that sewed this. You can see it's kind of like wobbly all over the place on the sewing machine. Couldn't quite keep a straight line, but it was great practice.
It's really good learning for kids. So. Be able to do that.
Let's see. Do you grow peas for your spring garden? Mine are struggling this year. Sometimes. I'm not this year. I found that succession planting does not work well for us. Our season isn't long enough. So if I plant peas in my main garden, I can't get other things in there when the peas are done. So we love peas, but I
Mhm.
found that for the amount of peas that you have to grow to actually have peas to feed a family of 8, it's
Yeah.
like an incredible amount of peas. Okay, and so I just skipped them this year. I do know peas like it chilly, and they like to be raised up so that the water can drain down. So I don't know if any of those help you. Um, but if they aren't hilled, if they weren't planted up on a hill, you might trench along your rows so that if it rains a lot, your peas don't get swamped.
Let's see. Love the feed bag idea. I don't
Let's see.
sow, make me some, and I'll buy them from you.
We have to get a little better on our technique, but we'll work
We
on
need to find a real attractive feed bag to make them out
Yeah.
of. I guess that one's not too bad.
We could do, I could put a video together with Ivy. We could make a couple more and show you. It was not hard. If you can sew a straight line, you can do it. There wasn't any fancy schmancy stuff going on.
Did you find a template for it online or anything?
I watched a couple of different videos people had put together.
You
I
guys
wanted
did
it to
real
have
quick.
a flat bottom so that when I put stuff in it, it just didn't fall over. Like I wanted to be able to stand up. So I had to figure out how you make the square bottom. So I had to watch a couple of videos. But
Yeah, Ivy enjoyed doing that.
I know of a neighbor who made craft and outdoor aprons. Oh, that'd be cute. Make the kids little feed bag aprons. That's a good
Ooh,
idea.
That is a good idea. They're kind of waterproof, so that would work well.
Lee asked, can you grow potatoes in feed bags? Yes, you can. You will not get as many potatoes compared to if you grew them in a larger construction, so a big cattle feeder tub or tires. But you can absolutely grow potatoes in feed bags. Just know that because of the limited space, you're not going to get big behemoth. I can't think of the word. Like the baked potato. You're not going to get really big ones, but you'll get potatoes and they'll be great. And the nice thing with that is when you're ready to pick your potatoes, you just slit your feed bag and then they all fall out. So there's no digging in the ground.
Well, that's nice to have that convenience like that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got? We did most of these things.
Okay, I'll tell a funny-ish story.
Okay.
So my grandfather was born in if Dad's watching this, Grandma, get this wrong. I think he was born in 1924. Was when Dad's grandpa was born. So he was a teenish during the Great Depression into young adulthood, and he taught me about the value of electricity.
Your dad or your grandpa?
My grandpa.
Your grandpa.
So we would visit Grandpa, after I was born. So this is in the 90s, and Grandpa had no money woes in the 90s. And we would sit down to eat dinner. We'd fill our plates, and everybody would sit down. And then Grandpa would say, "All right, look at your plates." And then he'd lean over and turn the lights off, and he'd be like, "You don't need to see to eat them. Electricity costs money," is what he'd always say. That's 2 cents right there. But just understanding the value. Electricity is relatively cheap. Okay, Grammy says 1921. Electricity is relatively cheap, but it adds up really quickly. Like every time I run my dryer, I know that costs me about 40 cents. And so if you're running your dryer 3 times a day or twice a day, every day, by the end of the month, what's that, like
$20 or $30?
$20?
Whatever.
So we hang our
Whatever
laundry
it is.
outside on the line on sunny days, and we only use the dryer on rainy days. And in the summer, I basically never use the dryer. Heats up the house anyway, which is more expensive because then you have to cool the house down.
Mm-hmm.
But understanding...
Watts cost lots. I like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I forgot about that. That's what
I
Grandma
like
said.
that.
Watts cost lots.
Yeah.
So just understanding what it's costing you to run the electrical devices in your house, and then choosing those that you really need and which ones to turn off can save you a considerable amount of money.
Let's see. I live on a hill for peas. I only feeding 3, so I'm able to harvest peas when they grow. Feed bag project tomorrow. As I was about to send mine away in the trash tomorrow.
And there's we don't have a video of how I did it, but if you just YouTube it, there's some great tutorials that just show you real simply how to make them. So,
like your shopping bag made from a feed bag, our feed comes in paper bags. I need to keep the bag idea in mind next time.
So those paper bags, though, might be good for lining your garden, like the cardboard to make a weed barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, electricity is cheaper now, but I wouldn't count on that in the long run. And I would say if you're like us, well, probably a lot of it depends where you live in the world, but our electricity rates are much higher than our friends or when we lived in town because we have to buy them from a rural cooperative. It is a cooperative, and it's pricey. And so some of you might be getting electricity that's 8 or 9 cents a watt. That is definitely not what we're paying. It adds up. So
Our electric company just sent us a note saying they're raising prices 7.5%.
more than my Social Security raise. Go figure.
My goodness.
Yeah, that's a
that
big
is a
hike.
big jump. My goodness. Do we have any other Depression era frugal living lessons?
Oh, I just remember my dad told a story too. This is just another funny story because my grandparents were wonderful people, but they were cheap. Like they never spent money. They could have had $1 million in the bank and he wouldn't go buy a hamburger because it was a waste of money because he lived during the Depression when they were so poor. But my dad would tell a story about growing up. Grandpa worked for AT&T. And so he got like excellent rates on everything because he was an employee. So like their home phone was like super cheap, but he wouldn't ever pick up the phone. So like if you were out, you had to like, I don't remember what it was. It was like ring twice, hang up, call again, ring once, because Grandpa wouldn't pick up. But if he heard that ring like Morse code, he would know that you got where you were going safely, and he didn't have to spend the 2 cents to pick up the phone and answer the call. So I guess
Morse code.
Just every cent makes a difference. I guess that's the main lesson. And so whether it's stuff that you're buying and throwing away, if it's food that you're buying at the store that you could grow for yourself a lot cheaper, if it's buying stuff on sale and canning it for later, those cents, they add up in the long run and can really help you save some money. So
Yep.
Yeah, Phyllis says paper feed bags as weed barrier in the garden. That works great. Yeah.
Let's see who. Oh yeah, Dean family said the same thing.
Yeah. So I have not tried that, but that would be a great way to repurpose them.
Most of the bags we get are paper. Those kind of plasticky bags. Just a few things. I don't always buy the alfalfa pellets. That's just kind of a once in a while thing. So I think most bags are usually the paper.
Yeah, the cheapest energy is the energy you don't use. That's very true.
Everybody has all these sayings tonight. I like them.
Pete needs to write a book of
just
sayings
yeah.
called Pete-isms.
Joyce, if you put a dry towel in the dryer with your wash, it will dry quicker.
Huh.
Really?
I guess it helps. I would be interested in the science behind that.
Yeah.
So I've never heard that one before. I think I got everything on my list. What is this one?
Sometimes quality is cheaper. My favorite example of that is my work boots I used to buy. I think people did this in the Great Depression too. So I used to buy, when we first moved out to the farm, I bought just the cheapest work boots that they had at Walmart. I think they were $30 maybe, or $40. And I literally went through a pair a month here at the farm because I wear them every single day. And we went through like 3 or 4 months of me buying a new pair of boots every month because we were just going through them. I finally looked at Laura and was like, I gotta get better boots. Like, it's just not working out. So I splurged and bought $80 boots, which really aren't all that expensive, but they were much nicer. And those boots lasted me 5 years. I mean, I literally wore those boots almost every single day for 5 years. And so sometimes just buying something that's nice that you know is going to last a long time will end up being cheaper than trying to buy the cheap stuff over and over and over again. If you know it's something that's going to last you.
Yeah, Melissa says we have 8 kids and have never had a lot of money. My husband and I joke we've been training for this our entire marriage. Yeah, we've had those conversations before too. This is our time. Yeah. We're ready. Yeah. I grew up literally dirt poor, but didn't know we had an outhouse, boiled bath water, grew 3 gardens, fish, hunt, chickens. Yep, learned so much, and I think there's so many lessons to be learned, and it's not money. Helps make things happen. I'm not gonna lie. Like it can help get your homestead. It would really help get your homestead started and things. But
a big jump start.
Yeah, there's definitely just hard work and ingenuity can get you a long way.
Veronica says she just jumped on. How is Annie? Thanks for joining us, Veronica. Annie is doing great.
She is.
She's let's see. What did she do in therapy today? Did they tell you?
Let's see. No, she did. So she had 2 hours of therapy today. She worked really hard today, but she did more. They've been working on doing like squats and leg presses, and her new goal is to be able to go downstairs while carrying something, which is something that she's never really been able to do before. Because she has what's called overflow, which means if her good side is focused on something, like if she's holding something in her left hand, her brain forgets about the other side, and so everything tightens up a lot. And so
it just mimics a
Yeah.
lot of times what
And
that
so
other side will do.
she can't like hold something and then maneuver downstairs, like that's too hard. And so but now that she's had that surgery and has gotten rid of a lot of the bad message sending nerves, it doesn't happen as much anymore. So now she can work on things like that, which is gonna, think about it, all the times you carry things downstairs, and now that's possible for you. So that's awesome.
She really is a hard worker in therapy, and she's a trooper. She hits it hard every day. Prep for Eternity says shoes is one of those things it's better to pay a little bit more. There's a lot of other things that way are that way too. I think a lot of tools are that way. You can buy a lot of cheap tools. And they're just gonna they're gonna break constantly. You're gonna buy 3 or 4 of them. They're either gonna make your job take 2 or 3 times as long. And sometimes when it comes to tools, it's nice to just buy something nice to begin with. And some of those tools, if you buy nice, they will last you the rest of your life. Literally the rest of your life, if you take care of them. Some of those tools will last lifetimes. You can pass it down for generations. And so sometimes it is nice. It's better to buy quality things.
And Pete says try to own, there's another excellent thing, trying to own fewer things but better quality things.
Very true.
It's very true. So I think it's been about an hour.
Yeah, it's been about an hour.
I don't know, have we decided, are we continuing our Monday night traditions?
I'll be honest.
Since
we've done this, is it 4 weeks in a row now? Has it only been 4? It feels like it's been 5 or 6.
March.
4 weeks in a row. We need you guys to give us ideas for live streams. Like, what are we going to talk about? Because it feels like sometimes with homesteading, there's only so many things we can talk about.
Well, at least in the same season. Like, as the seasons
true.
change, new topics come up. But I can't talk about winterizing right now because it's getting ready
we
for
can't
spring,
talk,
so.
You can only talk about spring gardening so much. And we want to make sure the live stream's entertaining when people get on, so we don't want to get on and just be like, so, what do you guys want to talk about? And then just sit here and it's awkward silence. We like having to have a kind of a topic to discuss. So sometimes we go off on rabbit trails a little bit, but we do like having a kind of a theme for our live streams. Love your live streams. We do have a P.O. box, Veronica. Thank you for the prayers.
If you look in our last video, it's in the description. Once this gets published, I'll add it in the description as well. We do have a P.O. box.
Terry asked, do you distinguish between nice and quality?
Do distinguish. Is that a question?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
I agree. Some things look fancy, but they're not going to last you a long time.
That's true. We could definitely do a part 2 on the depression. We need to do a little more research, I think, to do a part 2. Prep for Eternity, we love your live streams. I still use my papa's handsaw and screwdrivers. Nothing special, but nothing fancy, but special to me. Yes.
I have a jam. I don't know what the technical term is. It's like a colander, but it's shaped like a triangle, and it's for making jam. And it comes with a wood smasher that's also shaped like a triangle. And that was your great grandfather's. And I have it. His mom gave it to me.
We use it every day.
Make jam, and I use it to drain macaroni and cheese. Yeah. Like, some things are just built to last. So.
Let's see. Pete says, of course, you remember how popular the topics around toilets were.
Yes.
I know.
Do we have to have potties number 2?
Yeah, we should do.
Comparing types of outhouses.
Yeah, composting toilets stream number 2. That was a rabbit trail for sure. Yes, please keep going, or at least once or twice a month.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it, says Barbara. Please keep doing the live streams. Oh, a lot of people like them.
So, well, thank you guys.
She preps breakfast and listens and talks to her husband. Oh, that's nice. Thanks, blessed mama. Food preservation is a great topic.
A day in the life stream would be great. But
Oh,
today,
like what we do, like
take you
from
through our
top to
day.
bottom. We just like journal our day and then talk about it.
Oh,
That'd be
that
interesting.
is interesting.
Mine would,
My days
okay,
are so
Laura's
like,
would just be like mind blowing. Mine would be like sit at a computer all day studying whatever it was I did. Mine would be a little boring.
I don't. You do a lot though, like cramming your farm stuff in the morning. And so
I do try to help.
all right. Well, I think we'll be back next week definitely, and then we'll see whether we want to do it twice a month or every other week. How we want to do that. So, but we'll catch it. We'll have a good one.
If you
for
want
guys
to,
next week.
after we've closed the video down, leave a comment below about
Topics.
a topic you might like for a live stream. Like jog our memories, get the juices flowing. See if we can pick something for next week.
Yeah. So telling us your daughter about how grandpa had to leave his 5-year-old son to fight World War II. My grandpa had to leave. He got drafted and he had to leave. My aunt was only like a week old. He got drafted and then he didn't come home for like 3 years or something like that. So
And you think about that stuff, it's mind blowing.
You couldn't even write a letter and know it was going to get there. Never mind like call or FaceTime like we can today. It's just incredible how much the world has changed. So
It is. The people back then are amazing.
oh, this is the first sign of spring. If you live on a farm, you'll know this. Can you see it? That's, oh
Whoop,
no!
it fell off.
It's one
The
of those
ladybug.
stupid fake ladybug things
Yeah.
that smell like nasty peanut butter when you squash them.
I can't get it on the paper now.
But if you live in the country, you know what I'm talking about.
He
You
won't
can't
stay.
get it.
He won't stay on the paper.
That's the first sign of spring. They smell so gross. Okay, that's all. We're good.
We're good. Thank you so much
Yes.
for joining our live stream.
Thank you.
We really enjoy chatting with you guys every Monday night. We'll be back next Monday. We'll try and figure out a topic.
Yeah, leave
Please
topics.
leave a comment below and let us know. Make sure and give the video a
thumbs up.
thumbs
Thank
up
you
before
all.
you leave too. You guys have a good week. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Night.